Let's twitch on. So, we are here in Encino, California at my studio, and we are hosting the amazing composer, singer, creator, everything beautiful Mimi Page.
Hi.
So, Mims, tell us, like, how's your day so far?
My day's beautiful now. I love working with you. I love being in your incredible studio. Love being on Twitch. This is so exciting. Life's been good.
Yeah, you just came back from Japan, right?
I just came back from Japan.
How was it?
It was unbelievable. It was a whole week of backpacking all around Tokyo. We went down to the beach. We went to all the ancient temples, exploring the beauty of the city, the peace, the kindness of the people. It was unbelievable.
And did you hear any interesting music over there? Anything inspiring?
Gosh, yeah. I heard some really cool metal and pop. Yeah, some Japanese metal and pop. It was so amazing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Metal and pop,
Yeah,
Japanese one.
And
Okay.
now lo-fi trip hop, Japanese lo-fi trip hop. It is the most
Wow.
peaceful, serene. Yeah. Oh my gosh, my husband and I just listen to it before we sleep. It's so peaceful.
And what about like sort of like a traditional instruments? Did you see anything maybe when you were at Kyoto?
No, I was strictly in Tokyo and
In the area, surrounding
yeah.
Because
So
I'm always into like crazy ethnic instruments, as you
Yeah.
know.
yeah, I didn't see any this
Okay.
time. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll have to build some stuff.
Yes. Yes, we will.
So, like every week, we're going to try to answer a few questions that you have, but mainly to talk about sort of like the issue or the subject of today. Mimi and I were collaborating on many projects, and I've learned to know. Do you remember when did we meet? I mean, how did we even start working?
How we started, it's super cool. So I was looking to shadow a composer and hone my own craft, and my manager reached out to your agent.
Oh, okay.
And just was asking if there was anyone on the roster that would be interested in having, young protege kind of shadow. You were the only one that wrote back and said something so amazing. You said, "I'm not looking for someone to shadow me. I actually am looking for someone exactly with your voice. Please come in tomorrow. I have a project for you." So since
Now,
then,
that sounds like what I do. Usually, when I'm writing something, I was like, Mimi's going to be great for this. What time is it? It's 10 a.m. All right, Mims, can you come at 11? 5 to 11. And usually she does. And it's amazing because when I'm writing something, everything is very intuitive. I don't plan anything. I just start. I know what I want to say. And we're going to touch more about, today we're going to talk a little bit about storytelling within music.
yes.
And how actually we're building every musical piece as a story.
Yes.
So I know what I want to say. I know what is the story I want to tell. I just don't know exactly what are the tools
Yes.
that I'm going to use. And then, sometimes it's just like, a voice, and especially a Mimi voice, which is so distinct, really, distinct voice. And you actually will hear some of it later on today. It will be perfect for that. And, it's so great to have some collaborators like Mimi that you could just call up. It's like, I have this idea. Do you have time to come? And she is busy. Believe me, she does so many things from her own library on Sound Iron, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And projects, amazing projects, and composing her own projects. But many times when I'm calling and it's sort of like urgent, she will just be here for me. So thanks.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's been so inspiring to work with you over the years. It's been like 5 years, I think now.
I think so, yeah.
And so many different projects, so many different stories we've, told together, and
projects.
yeah. It's so exciting to see, I never know what's next when you call me, and it's just like we enter this world and I get whatever type of, intuition within me, but then I get to play with your sound and your vision, and it's like a playground, a sonic playground.
And that's exactly sometimes what we're doing is really a lot of experimentations. You probably cannot see, but I have my live room here. And many times when Mimi's just jumping to the live room, I just don't know really what to tell her. We have usually the music playing. I prepared some kind of a background, but I don't really know what I want her to sing.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it, the music, and she actually composing herself into the music, which is so cool. And not many singers that I know actually could really listen to music and then actually add their own compositional ideas with their voice. And this is what was so awesome. In fact, maybe we should actually, I just want to tell you, Jason Yang is here with us today, but he's behind behind the curtains. So Jason, come over here. Jason was just an amazing gift for all of us here. And he is such an instrumental when it comes to connecting with all you, the fans, especially on Twitch. So we're going to ask Jason, before we start sort of like the lesson of today, do we have any outstanding questions for fans?
Not yet. I think we're going to get a lot of the questions once we go into like the crazy topics that Mimi's going to
Crazy topics.
Sounds great,
That
yeah.
sounds good.
Yeah.
So let's go for it.
Let's go for it. So I was going to say part of what I love about music so much is that it's an energy and it can capture human emotion, almost where language fails.
Right.
And what's so fun working with you is the spectrum of human emotion that we're able to cover. And one of my favorite collaborations we did was on Fallout 4 Far Harbor. And it was dark and smoky and foggy and creepy, but it was beautiful and haunting and mysterious. So there were all these different elements at play, and it was so fun to craft that with you because we weren't quite sure where we were going. And we got to build a choir and a harmony together that created this almost like synth-like experiment sound.
Yeah, and actually it all derives again and start from the story. So we are at this forgotten place that called Far Harbor. And I'm always starting from where we are, when we are, and what we are, the three W's, and then, and the most important thing, what exactly do we feel and what I want the player to feel. So it is dark. It could be before dawn or right at dusk. And it's pretty cold, right? The ocean looks green and menacing a little bit. Since we are at the fallout time, probably there's a lot of radiations and some mysterious creatures are lurking because they're all mutations and stuff. So it's not really a pleasant place.
No.
However, there is a sense of peacefulness somewhere, and there is a sense of like it's a mystery that we are afraid of, but we really want to discover. So this is what we were going for. And we could actually share with you and play for you this track from Far Harbor.
Yep.
Jason, are we ready here?
Yeah.
I think we're
Can
good.
we push? Talk about it a little bit. So, I mean, first, I mean, amazing performance, and a lot of it was not even planned.
No.
Tell us about it a little bit.
Well, first off, I have to say I'm the biggest Fallout fan. The first gig we ever did together, I think it was Rift, and
Yep.
I came over and I was a total geek. I had my Fallout 3 game, and I was like, you gotta autograph this. I'm the biggest fan of your work. Mostly because you create darkness so beautifully, and as a gamer myself, when I'm in a world where I'm getting immersed and lost into, I want to be a part of that story, and the music is everything for me. So I feel your music on like a cellular level. So coming in and getting to know your flow and style of writing, it's almost like I can tune into what your intention is and the feeling so that I can respond and react. It's almost like a telepathic thing.
Well, obviously it works because you're a composer.
Yeah.
So you understand the concept, of composition.
Yeah.
And, on top of like all these sounds, you could probably hear like the foghorn. So the foghorn was actually like an ancient sort of like this Swiss horn,
Yeah.
along the line of me doing like this. So together with this through the old didgeridoo, and you could probably hear like the ocarina, that I played a.
So cool.
So all these instruments, and you could hear also the Chinese flute here, the kudi. So again, performing all stuff, but the most important thing is like you could hear the wind
Yes.
flowing. You could hear almost like the ocean.
Yeah.
And the voice, your voice, is just with so much air
Yeah.
in it, works so well with a ocarina.
Yeah.
So that's why we built, and we I think that quite successfully we told a story
Yeah.
of this situation in Far Harbor, and this is when you're entering it with the boat.
And I remember it coming, and you said you played it for me, and I immediately felt the dampness and the darkness. And you said, imagine like a siren, and you're kind of calling someone, and so you're haunting, and you're dark, and you've got creepy motives, but you're also gentle and peaceful. And
I think it's a great point.
Yeah. So we went
Think
in and
about
played
these
that.
sirens that are calling, the
Yeah.
sailors, and they're crashing.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing about Far Harbor.
Yeah.
It's kind of like not inviting, but it's very, very it's mysterious, but
Alluring.
it's very alluring.
Yeah.
And once you're getting in there, not many people came out.
No, they didn't.
At least not the same.
No.
So have been eaten alive by
Yeah,
some.
those big creatures.
I
yeah.
know. Overall, so yeah, I mean, this is part of creating, and let's just maybe we could elaborate a little bit more on the darkness and lightness
Yeah.
in music, because you were talking about it earlier.
Yeah, to express what darkness is, in a beautiful way, you're able to, with music, I think, tap into the human emotion of despair and fear and terror, but then almost lift a player or a person or a listener out of that feeling. So you can communicate it, but then give it light at the same time.
Totally.
So
yes.
that's what I love about expressing darkness within music, and different ways to express it in a beautiful way. And, shaping it with like my breath, because we've
Right.
worked on many different projects that aren't as dark. So it's the way that I shape my voice with that wind, emulating that siren feel, like the attitude of that. It was really an intention with my instrument, but also emulating the dampness and the wind and all that you were expressing.
And also like a major factor in the Fallout music world is actually almost imitating the atmosphere and the sound effects
Yeah.
and the existing sounds there.
Yeah.
The music at Fallout many times plays, but it also almost playing what's going on there. So if it's a windy area, it'll play the wind. Or if it's like more watery, then it will play it. So the way your voice sort of like was weaving in and out totally portrayed the picture and lived so great with the actual sound effects. Sometimes music and sound effects just, has nothing to do with one each other. You have the sound effect and then you have the music. But in Fallout, many times the music almost is going to be as part, of the surrounding. So you don't really hear the music, you kind of feel the music.
Yes.
It's around you.
Yeah.
And that's very, very sort of like idiomatic for Fallout.
Absolutely. And that's what I love about the game as a player, is that you're able to feel your environment, and that's so important because you're in an apocalyptic experience.
Right.
So that's terrifying, but with the beauty of the music, you're able to explore such desolation with hope. And that's the intention, because you want to survive at the end. So that was so fun playing that way.
I know, and it's just always bringing me back to the actual Fallout theme. And the whole Fallout music was always about the major and the minor, and how they clash, how they complement each other, and the duality inside. I mean, because Fallout is a very sort of like a dualistic game, you know. It's about destruction, but it's about building.
Yeah.
You know, it's about like losing hope, but also gaining hope. And the music is totally playing into this thing by starting minor, then going major. Da da da. You know, and it always plays between hope and despair, despair and hope, and these things are clashing but complementing each other, and this duality really makes Fallout so special for so many people.
And it's the human experience for all of us day to day. You know, it's constant despair and hope every day. So
right. Well, you know, why don't we actually segue to a total different world? So why don't you tell us a little bit about that, Eagle Flight?
So Eagle Flight was so fun. It's a completely different experience. You brought me in and you said, I want to feel like we are flying and soaring like you're a bird in Paris. You are just free. And so hearing that and hearing the instrumentation and beautiful composition you had, I had to then put my mind in that place of hearing what I could do with my instrument to complement what you had written. And that was having less breath, more of a direct tone, and having an uplifting attitude. So I was feeling free. So I feel like the way you feel inside as a singer, you are the instrument. So bringing that energy to it, then we created this whimsical, light, playful experience. It was totally different than...
I mean, Eagle Flight is, I think, Ubisoft's first VR game. It was published, I think, 2 years ago. Something like that. And it was such a great journey and experience because, you know, you are an eagle. And you're flying in the skies of Paris. But Paris is not what Paris today. Paris is sort of like after some kind of an apocalyptic event, so there are no people there. And it starts to get wild over there, only with the greeneries that are basically going all over the buildings, and it's very deserted, but still the beauty of Paris is there, and there are some animals. And you're an eagle and you're flying above all these amazing scenes, and you're fighting other eagles and their whole story. But my thinking about it was, let's create something that will be orchestral, but also very tribal. So I used a lot of percussions and other tribal elements. And then the third element was the vocals, because the vocals for me, especially women's voice, is such a soaring thing, and you could really feel, you know, the air and the wind and the height that you're flying through, and that's at Eagle Flight. So why don't we play
Sounds good.
You know, I mean, I think you cued.
Yep, we cued it right there.
Okay, let's hear it. this, I think, musical piece, you were part of the orchestra.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes a little hard to hear, but Mimi's voice was doubling the melody all the time. So if it's a French horns that carried the melody, behind it there was a voice that sort of like gave it this airy and very special signature.
Yeah.
And by the way, as a composer, and I'm sure that there are some composers that will look at this broadcast, and I mean many times it's all about signature and finding the signature for what you want to write, and each game has its own signature, so you need to attach a musical signature to the game or to the movie or TV. I mean, it has to be this way.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just going to be like a generic influence and thing. So, a voice could be like amazing as a tool
Oh, absolutely.
for signature.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And being not just a featured vocal, but being an instrument that complements the French horn and, supports it. So not being, such a focus point of the song, but building and creating that air behind everything else.
Yeah. So let me ask you, like, I mean, when you're coming to a session, with somebody that you don't know, composer that you never worked before.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you feel? Like, what scares you? Like, how do you go about it? Like, and how do you sort of like able to come up with these things before you even know what you're going to work on?
That's a good question. Aside from you, I rarely work with people in person. Usually it's over Skype or in my own studio. So I am totally at a trust-based digital friendship with whoever I'm working with, and that I am tapping into the energy of their music. And then I usually go to my garden and I sit with my plants, and I like to just meditate and feel the music, kind of like what I do with you in studio. And I start to feel my music and it starts to come out, and it depends on how inspired I am, but it will fly out of me and it will write itself. And then I'll go, I have it, and I'll sit down and I'll record, and usually it's the first time I hear it that it really comes through, and then I'll just hit record, and I'm not judging myself, whatever comes, and then it will fly out, and then I'll listen to it, I'll be like, okay, this works, this doesn't, this works, but I will immediately feel the vibe and the signature of whatever I'm working on, and that's how I go with it.
Do you use any like special like tools, microphones? What's your secret?
Reverb's my secret.
Okay, tell us about that.
I'm the reverb person. When I first started recording, I never even thought I could sing. I discovered my voice when I was 16 years old. I was in a music technology class in high school, and I heard my voice for the first time, just bare, and I thought, okay, this is all right. But I was like, okay, if I put what I put on my piano and my synthesizers on my voice, what will it sound like? And there's some type of frequency that emits from when I have very heavy reverb on my voice, that it gives me this celestial, otherworldly feel. And putting that on my vocals has become a signature for me. One of my favorite reverbs is Valhalla Shimmer, which usually when we work together, I'm like, give me the Taj Mahal.
Yeah, exactly.
My favorite, and then microphones, to me, most of my vocal production is post-production.
Okay.
So I don't focus so much on the microphone that I'm using. I use an MXL condenser at home. I've worked on Neumann's, I've worked on many different ones. And really, to me, it's how the compressor I'm going through, the EQ, I know what to cut and what to shelve and what to boost, the highs of my voice, what's flattering to my tone, and then, of course, the reverbs.
So, by the way, I really want to encourage everybody to ask questions.
Yeah.
If you have any questions. Oh, actually, we do have.
We have a couple.
Epic.
Oh, good. All right, so let's hear them. And
Yay.
Jason is here to ask us the questions.
So, we had one from, let me see if I can find it. From Leo Stray.
Hi, Leo.
Hey, Leah.
How do you transform a dark musical part to a brighter within a scenario inside the game? Do you keep room for stuff to come later, or is it all a pre-through or pre-thought?
Very interesting question. So
Yeah.
that's all about evolution and how you're going to develop. And again, I just wanted to reiterate that it's all about the story. So if you want to tell a story about something that seems lost and dark, but there is some hope and the light in the end of the tunnel, you probably want to shift some of the orchestrations and actually talking about a voice like Mimi's. So maybe you really want to start with a very dark and ominous pads that don't have this celestial and airy sound, and you build it in a basic way. But once you're moving into the piece and you start to develop it bits by bits, you're starting to bring these like points of light, and the point of light could be a vocal point of light, and this is basically what makes the shift. And the shift doesn't have to be big. Actually, the shift could be really small, but it's like a really dark place, and if you just light it a little bit, suddenly you could see something.
Yes.
And then you could just like turn the light a little bit more and more, and the whole thing change. You could do it with instruments. So if you're using, for example, only low strings, okay, and then you suddenly layer instrument like even an oboe or English horn, okay, or a voice,
or
on
a
top of-
flute.
or a flute,
Yeah.
or something like that. It adds these overtones that this is sort of like the light,
Yeah.
this is acting like the light. And actually this question really ties us nicely to what we were talking about. It's sort of like the darkness and the lightness in music. So good question.
Very good question.
Anything to add?
Exactly what you said. I love that you said the subtleties. That it doesn't have to be drastic, because
Right.
as listeners, you're much more intelligent emotionally than you could verbally say. So when you're listening to something and there's a slight shift, if it's just a chord change, like what you were saying,
Right.
from minor to major, and this
Right.
conflicting thing, and then you add just a lighter element like a vocal or a flute or something that just lifts, and then you go dark again, your body's telling you what to feel. So the subtle changes are everything, because it's a
Totally.
very contained experience. It's not like right in your face.
Yeah, and harmony is such, and I'm happy you touched on it, because harmony is such a, powerful tool. You could just change one note within a chord, and suddenly the whole thing changes. And you could say, of course, like from the most basic thing, oh yeah, minor sad, major happy, but what about all these subtleties? What about, happy, but sort of like a sad happy?
Yes.
You really maybe don't want to play the root, down there. You want to play maybe the third or the fifth tone, and then build the major, or you add some tensions to the major chord. With minor, the same thing, and if minor is sad, if you add some more dissonance to the minor, it becomes even scarier than sad. So harmony is such a powerful tool.
So is sound design as well, would
Oh,
you
yeah.
say? Yeah, because
Yeah.
you could even have a major chord and then some really dark atmospheric textures
Totally,
and pads around
yes.
it. And so you're like, this is a really complex, am I happy? Because it's happy, but it's not, It's,
Right. It's
yeah.
almost quirky, if you're like do like a major chord, but then you add like a chorus or some kind of like a vibration to it, and it's just like like
You're like, what am I feeling right
exactly.
now? Yeah.
Yeah. What else?
Tree Dub in the chat specifically referenced your piece Nightfall in the Mire in Fallout 76 as about the darkness and brightness that you guys were talking about. It wasn't a question, but it was just specifically referencing to your...
No, I think it's a great reference. It's exactly what we're talking about. And by the way, working on Fallout 76 with Mark Lampert and Todd Howard taught me so much about subtleties, because you really don't want to say, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm scared, the whole atmosphere is way more complex. The situation is more complex. How do you do a music that gives you a mix feeling, mix emotions? It's so intricate, and we've been really working hard on crafting a style that will say, yes, there is hope here, but that's pretty challenging also.
Yeah.
And it makes the whole experience more realistic.
Yes.
Because it's not black and white.
Yeah.
I see, like.
Ooh, we also have a really good question I think in a pretty different subject.
Right.
From Ray's World. Hi, Ray.
Ooh.
How do you approach the blank slate when you're starting off? Is it like film picture lock, where you wait until everything is finalized and then you start? When you start, do you plan the whole thing, or do you adapt from one piece to the next?
That's a good
It's a
question.
really, really good question.
Yeah.
And with games, I am starting when it's just an idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I started Fallout 4, for example, when it was out in 2016. I started in 2012. There was not a lot of game material, nothing. And most of the games, or the big games that I'm working on, are very, very, like, when I'm starting working on them, they're in their very preliminary stages. So the beauty of it is that the music is growing and being developed with the game. And I could write a music to something that is not even exist, to a level that does not exist. And then the artists in Bethesda, for example, will get the music and listen to it while they're drawing. And then they will send me their, sort of like expression or interpretation of my music. And then I'll think, maybe I should change some stuff because this is what it's all about. So the story is there, but we're feeding each other. Definitely not in movies, when you need to wait until the movie is locked and then you write the music. Also, when you write music for film, usually you have like 3 to 4 weeks or 6 weeks to finish, because music is just really the last part.
Yeah.
In games, it's part of the development, and it takes years sometimes to develop music.
And when you
for
say
games.
also, it's not linear like film. It's a very like 360 experience when you're writing.
Totally.
So you're almost like you're a multi-dimensional writer, where you're like, I'm going to go over to this space and feel this, and then I'm going to go over here. So you have to really imagine that you're actually there. And sometimes you just have pictures and ideas. So your imagination is just everything when it comes to that.
And also think about it that in games like Fallout, which is, a free roam, an open, platform.
Yeah.
Games, you could come to a place that will have a theme, okay? And there is a situation there, and it's kind of thriving and nice and vibrant. And then after like half a game, you'll come back to it, and it's totally destroyed. So obviously you will take the same cue, but will play it in a total different way. You will use the theme, but the interpretation that you're going to give to the theme is going to be totally different. So that's how you sort of like have the character, but you're painting it in very, very different, colors.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that you're doing it in your compositions as well.
Yes, absolutely. I scored an RPG called She Dreams Elsewhere. It's going to come out later this year. And I only had pictures and concepts, and it's about a girl in a coma that can't wake up. So much of it is very trying to create these dreamlike atmospheres, but having no visual to work with, because I did it before he developed the game. So it's very much like what you're saying, and having to kind of put myself in this imaginary world, and then he's drawing off what I am doing, and helping build scenes off of my music, and it's back and forth like that. Super cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, again, it's all about trying to connect to the story that the game is telling us, and tell it to our gamers and our players. And by the way, this is such a, always great, pleasure to share the music and the new music that we're writing with the fans. I mean, when you're like here in the studio and you're writing it, it's like between you and yourself, right?
Yeah.
But then suddenly you realize, okay, actually, people are going to listen to it. People that you don't know even.
Yeah.
People that are in Germany,
Yeah.
or somewhere, like far away will listen to your music. It's really indescribable. I mean, to be able to share the music with so many people.
It's really magical.
Yeah.
Got two more questions for you.
Oh, great. Let's go.
One from Jill, the travel agent.
Oh.
Hi, Jill.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
Jill.
We want to travel to Korea.
Korea?
Yeah. I'm actually I'm planning maybe a South Korea trip later on this. I'm
Can we
not
come?
sure, but
Can we come? Yeah, that sounds
yeah,
amazing.
yeah, because there are amazing people that I'm working with there. So,
Epic.
yeah.
For us Mimi fans who don't know who this cool gentleman is, could you please introduce
It doesn't
him?
really matter, actually. Today we're about Mimi here.
Could you introduce him to us and let us know what he does?
Oh my gosh, of course. Inon Zur is one of the most prolific, legendary, incredible composers in video games, film, and television. Your whole body of work is so massive. I can't even name all of them. But from, now the Elder Scrolls, Blades, Dragon Age, Siberia, Fallout, the entire series, New Vegas, Fallout 3, Fallout 4, 76, Inon, like everything.
Well, again, I'm not expecting people really to know my body of work if they're not like into games, because this is most of my work. But I'm very, very happy to introduce myself, and maybe you will just listen to my music later on and see, and especially our collaboration, which is really awesome.
My favorite thing about Inon's music is that even if you don't play video games, listening on record, it is a beautiful cinematic experience that if you're writing, you're walking, you're at the gym, you're driving, it's a totally different world to just put on. So you don't have to be a gamer to enjoy Inon's music. It's beautiful as it is.
And having said that, why don't we segue a little bit to the album, right?
Yes!
Okay, so we've been talking, and Jason, and then we'll
Yep.
probably touch on more questions. But we've been talking in in a few last Twitch sessions that we did here about the new album that is coming very soon. Can we already say the date that it's coming? What do you think? Not yet. Soon.
Soon.
One of these
Soon.
years, last week.
One of these, Sooner than last week, right? And the name of the album is Into the Storm, and it's featuring a lot of amazing artists, and one of them is Mimi. And Mimi is singing an amazing song that she wrote with me and with Ian Nikas called A Tale of a Night. You want to tell us a little bit about it?
Well, Tale of a Night was really fun. We create our own language,
Right.
and which I think you call Zurish.
Right. Yeah.
Which
but
is
I
so
think,
fun.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
think that in this song, actually, you sang in real English.
No, that's
That-
Over the Stones of the Grey. That's our other song.
Oh, right. So, you know what? Actually, now when I'm coming to think, Mimi is singing
Two
songs on this
Two
one,
songs
right?
on this record, yeah.
So tell us. Oh, okay, so why don't we start with Tale of a Night, right?
Tale of a Night. So we came and we wanted to create something heroic and adventurous, and kind of like the hero's journey, but we didn't want it in English. So we all sat down and just really crafted from the ground up a language that expressed an emotion but didn't define the exact story. So it's up to the listener to imagine what's going on, but you can hear in the melody and, everything that's going on, kind of what could happen.
Yeah, and I've imagined some kind of like a tragic event.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very soothing song.
Yeah.
But it's being told soothingly, but also tragically about this woman that her lover is going to war, and she knows that there's just not many chances he'll come back.
Yeah.
And she waits for him every day, and she sings this song, and years passes, and all she has is this song to hang on to it, and that's what gives her the power and the hope that one day he will come back. And of course we don't know. And again, this is in a made up language.
Yeah.
So you could just imagine what it says, but this is a story I was imagining when we wrote this song. We could touch a little bit about Over the Stone of the Gray.
Yes.
Which is the other song.
That's the other song. So that was more of, not as from a point of view of, I would say, I don't want to call it grief, but longing, which is the Tale of a Night. But Over the Stone of the Gray is more of that hero's journey where, you're fighting your own shadow inside and you want to prevail, and it's really a kind of a battle against yourself, I think.
Yeah, I know. And it's really sort of like a common thread throughout the whole album, which called Into the Storm. And we're imagining a person that is facing a storm and the challenges, and the storm is enormous. It's just huge. It's scary, but it's beautiful. But something calls this character to go for it and to challenge him or herself. And all the stories that are being told throughout this crossing of this humongous storm is everything that is going on, and each song in the album is telling a different story. But this song, A Tale of a Night, is really something that is really have a common thread with the whole theme of the album. The other thing, it's funny because before we named this album Into the Storm, I wanted to call it Songs from the Tavern. And the reason why I wanted to call it Songs from the Tavern was because I was imagining myself, I already knew that there are going to be many songs there, and each song will tell a different story. So I was imagining myself in this kind of like magical Lord of the Ring-ish, Dragon Age-ish, Elder Scroll-ish, world. You're entering a tavern, like in every game. You're entering a tavern, right?
Yeah.
And there are people sitting in this tavern, and each one of them has a story to tell you, and you're moving from person to person. And there is a story about this girl, and this is a song about also this girl that feels lost, and she really wants to connect with something, so she stands in the middle of the dance floor in this tavern and starts to dance, but she dances alone, and you see that she's losing herself, and she's just not really able to connect with nobody. So this is like one story. Or A Tale of a Night, it's another story. So you met this person. So a Songs from the Tavern was also something that I had in mind when we worked on this album. We already published 2 songs. The first one called Into the Storm, and is performed by Tina Guo and Caroline Campbell, and I really recommend everybody to listen to it. The second song is Shalaya, performed by Aubrey Ashburn, really great and totally taken from the world of Dragon Age. And then the whole album will come out very, very soon. Soon, very soon. And then you will get to listen to these 2 amazing highlight songs that Mimi sang and co-write. She co-written these songs with me.
Cool. You have time for one last question before we let you get back to work?
Yeah, sure, of course.
So from Tree Dub, going back to the Fallout world, can you both speak about your experience working on the Far Harbor DLC? To me, it is one of my ultimate favorites, and it's my understanding that Mimi is also featured on that. Did you try to incorporate nautical feels, or how did that go?
Well, again, Far Harbor is really a jewel for me, and I think for Memes too.
Yes.
I mean, it's really, because it sort of like came from nowhere. The world of Fallout 4 was pretty precise and defined, but then came Far Harbor, and it was such a different world, so I had to really recraft a whole different tools, instrumentations, and Mimi was a huge part of it. How do you create this mysterious, almost water world that's called, Far Harbor? And again, it was just really, more than anything, a mystical, experience. You want to elaborate a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, you surprised me. I didn't know I was going to be working on it because you knew I loved Fallout so much, and I heard it and you said, what do you think this is for? And I said, oh my gosh, it's Fallout, because I heard the energy of it. Because what's so amazing about all the games is that you have a consistent feel that is thematic throughout all of them. But Far Harbor, for instance, with that foghorn coming in on our collaboration, I instantly felt like I was in this dark, muddy, foggy environment, and I instantly knew that the vibe we were going to create was haunting and dark, and but peaceful in a way, which is what I loved about it. And I love that contrast of trying to capture darkness with peace at the same time, because we all kind of feel that way. So expressing that in music, it was we just went in there and we were like, let's play around, let's just see what's going to happen.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing about Far Harbor, that it was sort of like created in the studio, with us, because many times Fallout, music is something that is, premeditated, and I'm planning it and I'm writing it, but this was different. And we really wanted to go for something different. I brought on board also my son Ori, who plays a cello, and he played sort of like the theme from New Harbor, So again, this is one of the first times that I introduced like a cello solo, in Fallout, and again, it's such a different environment. But I must say that I liked it so much that I actually revisited it more than once in Fallout 76, and the style, not exactly the melodies or the atmosphere, but just the tools and the instrumentations that I used in Fallout, in Far Harbor. I sort of like took and used it in 76.
Yeah.
So yeah. Well, I think that we're very, very close to get done here, and thank you everybody so much.
Thank you guys
for joining us. And next Thursday, we're probably going to have a little surprise for you. Or we'll announce it later on this week. But Mimi, it's such a special honor for me to have you.
Oh, it's an honor to be here, and of course working with you all these years. It's truly an honor. And
we are going to create way more new music soon, and we're going to share it with you. So believe me, there's a lot to expect. Wait, the album is coming, and I cannot really wait to share everybody the songs, and especially the two songs that you're singing.
Thank you. Yeah.
Great. Well, everybody,
Bye.
see you later, and see you next Thursday.